gosh. I haven't even read the whole thing yet and I'm already stressing. So, okay, let me get this straight. You set aside money for an old partner, but not your child? Old partner, ex-partner, no longer partner, current child, always child. What? How? I'm already sweating. Just make it make sense. Happy apple picking day. Some really quick reminders for any of our new friends. If you want to transfer your stories to be featured on Am I the Bad Apple, you can send them to my subreddit, r/AmITheBadApple. And as a reminder, we all come from different branches of the apple tree. And what that means is that we've all just lived different lives and have different experiences. And those experiences are going to shape our opinions and what we internalize, the tones that we hear. And I just think that's important to remember as we're discussing in the comments. We practice constructive communication. So, without further ado, let's get started with this week's episode of Am I the Bad Apple? Let's go apple picking! Apple number 1. Am I the bad apple for overstepping as the stepmother? I, 37 female, have a stepdaughter, Amy, 16 female. Amy was looking for a formal dress, and I mentioned that I have my old formal dresses in my closet. She picked my old prom dress to wear, and she's kept it in her wardrobe since wearing it at prom. I don't fit into my old dresses anymore, and I kept them in some other clothes to hand down to my kids. However, I just have 2 sons who aren't interested, so because of that, my nieces, 15 female and 13 female, are interested and I'm gonna keep them for them. A little bit ago, Amy left her earbuds in her sweatpants pockets and they got by the washing machine. When she asked for new ones, me and her dad told her that she needed to save up and buy herself new ones. She works part-time and we think that she needs to learn to take care of her things and be a little bit more responsible with them. Especially because she wanted new expensive pairs and not the wired ones that I offered her for free. She had brand new earbuds, the ones she wanted, and I asked, "Oh, did your mom get those for you?" No. She resold my dress on a secondhand website and bought herself the earbuds with the money she made. That dress was 100% silk, one of a kind, and the brand doesn't even exist anymore. I was so upset to hear that she just sold my dress, especially without even asking. I confiscated her earbuds and told her that I would give them back when she repaid me the cost of what she sold my dress for. My husband thinks I'm being too harsh and am overstepping as the step-parent and not her real parent. That I wasn't explicitly clear on whether I was lending her the dress or giving her the dress. Well, now Amy said she wants to go live with her mom because I'm being mean and unfair. I don't know if I've taken it too far or if I should stand my ground more. I don't know. Am I the bad apple? No. 16 is definitely old enough to be responsible enough to like, hey, just to clarify, is this my dress now or am I lending it to you? Are you expecting it back? Like, to not even say, run it by her, hey, I'm planning on doing XYZ with your dress. Is that okay? That's irresponsible. Like, I think anyone, not like, take out the parent part, anyone would say, okay, you sold my things to pay for those earbuds, you can pay me back for that, for sure. Like, I don't think that's unrealistic. I don't think that has anything to do with parent, step-parent, stranger, and I wouldn't say stranger, like no stranger is gonna lend someone their dress like that. But you know what I mean. 16 is too old to not be respectful and considerate and aware enough to just not do that. That's entitled. That's rude. That's bratty. 16 years old, you don't know that when someone gives you something nice to use, you don't just sell it without asking? No. I don't like that. The whole idea was learning to be respectful of your things. And in that lesson, that was the whole point that the dad and the stepmom gave her to, you don't want these wired earbuds? Because they said, hey, you messed up your earbuds. Do you want these wired ones? We have extra. Would you like them? No, you want the fancy new expensive ones? Okay, well, you ruined your old ones. You don't want the free ones. You want better ones, which is fine. You can get them yourself. Because you were irresponsible with your stuff. This is expensive stuff that you were not careful with. You got it ruined. Your lesson is you gotta pay for the fancy upgrade yourself. The lesson is be responsible for your stuff so you don't have to replace them. Turning around and then selling someone else's expensive stuff to fix your mistake for messing up your things, that's like the complete opposite of the whole point of why they did that. And it's not your things. Regardless, like I hear the husband sticking up for his daughter. Well, you weren't clear if you were giving it to her or lending it to her, but she's 16. She's old enough to be able to ask and clarify. Like that is a silk, one of a kind, old, like you can't replace that dress. She probably didn't even sell it for what it's genuinely worth, to be completely honest. Let's be real. The point is, this 16-year-old has, I think, personally, a little bit of an entitlement issue. And I think that she needs so for me, for those that don't know, that if you haven't, like, if we haven't talked about this in episodes that you've seen, I'm someone that I think if someone's going to receive a punishment or a consequence for something, like just punishing to just make someone upset or angry or feel at a loss or feel like they're losing, that I don't think that's useful. I don't think that does anything for kids. That's just being mean. When I think of like a punishment for a child, a teenager, whatever, the idea is to, like, punishment should fit the crime kind of thing. The idea is to make sure the kind of behavior doesn't happen again. So for me, when they're like, hey, you were irresponsible with your earbuds, they're now broken, it makes sense that you now have to come up with the money to replace them for the ones that you want. Like we offered you an alternative, you weren't interested, they weren't as nice as you wanted, that's fine. But because you are the ones that messed up the other ones, you can pay for the expensive upgrade. I think that's a beautiful consequence. I think that teaches responsibility. Be responsible for your things. You don't have to pay all this money to replace them. I think the punishment of you sold someone's very expensive things without checking, without clarifying, with, hi baby, without asking, oh my goodness, hi. I think it makes sense to say, okay, you have to pay this money back. Now, can I see a point for not confiscating the earbuds? Yes. I think it's fair to make an argument to say, okay, she's a teenager. I know I use my AirPods all the time. I'm sure she does too. She's a teenager. She listens to music. She probably talks on the phone to her friends. I can get on board with the idea that confiscating the earbuds until she comes up with the money might be too much for some people. I can see people agreeing with that. I can see people not agreeing with that. I think that's a personal preference. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, personally. I think there are reasons for both sides. Because, like, you're right. If she'd never sold the dress, she would not have the AirPods. She would not have the earbuds. I don't think that I would initially go with the confiscate them until you come up with the money. That's just me personally. And you don't have to agree with that, and that's fine. But like if stepmom already said, hey, I'm confiscating them until you pay me back, I don't think that she should switch up on that, if that makes sense. Like if she's gonna say, like, this is my boundary, you sold my stuff, you took my stuff, you didn't even talk to me about it, I no longer have this dress that I wanted to give to my nieces. You bought this with the money for my dress, these are mine, so you can have them back when you pay for them. Even though I wouldn't make that same decision, I don't think she should turn around and say, your father said that I have to give these back to you. Like, I think that in general, stepdaughter clearly doesn't have respect for other people's things and possibly like other people. Again, she's 16. She's in that egotistical phase of brain development, right? But she has to learn to think about others, and she has to learn to respect other people's things and learn to respect other people. And I worry that going back and like having dad make stepmom fold with that situation might compromise that lesson, because it doesn't always work like that. You can't always do someone wrong and then have like half the consequences get taken away because you pouted to your dad. Like, it doesn't work that way in the real life. So I think that if I don't necessarily think that I would have done the same thing, but I think if a decision's made, we stick to the decision, because again, the goal is to teach her respect, responsibility, those kinds of things. And I think switching it up when she's not even like acknowledging, oh yeah, I messed up. Like if she were to, oh, I'm so sorry, you're right, I messed up, then I can see switching it up and being like, I'm glad you acknowledged this was unacceptable. I can see that you're growing, that's the whole point, so I will give these back to you, but you still do owe me the money. But she's not doing that. She's like, oh my God, you're being mean and unfair, I'm gonna go run away to my mom's house. That's not showing any kind of growth. So I would not switch it up now, for sure, personally. That's my decision. Good apple. Apple number 2. Am I the bad apple for giving my daughter an allowance, but not my son? I, 45 female, have 2 kids, 17 female and 15 male. We moved earlier this year to be closer to my parents as my parents' health is declining. And my daughter was very excited about the move, but my son has really struggled to adjust. Due to the move, my job shifted to hybrid and I needed a work from home setup. My bedroom was too small for that, and the only options were the lounge or one of the kids' bedrooms during school hours. I proposed this to them. Hey, can I borrow your room while you're at school for the day? My son flat out refused. No way in heck. But my daughter offered her room and even half joked about charging me rent for the space. I thought that was fair, as I get $20 a day for a work from home allowance. I agreed to give it to her in full if she was okay with me setting up a small office in her room. I work from 8:30 to 5 o'clock and she usually starts homework right after I finish, so it's all worked out well. Now, the issue. My son is pissed that his sister's getting $60 a week. I don't do regular allowances, just canteen money, about $10 a week and more if other needs come up. I told him that he had the same opportunity and was now SOL. He got angry and brought up the move, saying that he never gets to see his friends. But for the record, I drive them back to visit every 2 weeks for visits. I told him I understood his feelings, but I wouldn't tolerate being spoken to like that. He then started an argument with his sister too, going in on her for being an opportunistic bitch, and she just started calling him a whiny ass. To cool off, I offered one of them the option to stay at their grandparents for the night. Not as a punishment or anything, but just to kind of break the tension. My son opted to go, and while dropping him off, my mom told me that I was favoring my daughter and should be paying them equally. My dad disagreed, saying that my son had a chance and was SOL. So, am I the bad apple? Oh, that poor kid. Oh, I have so many thoughts. I have so many things. I don't even know where to start. I'm literally getting chills. Oh, okay. So let me get this straight. You bought a house and put your kids in the bigger room, which, okay, that's your choice. I've never seen that done before. That doesn't mean it's a bad choice or wrong choice. I've just never seen that done. Personally, and like I see in the edit, you were like, oh, well, I took the smaller room because it's not as insulated and it gets cold and I can't afford to insulate it right now, which is fine. But I feel like you as the parent who needs the extra space, like it makes sense for you to take the bigger room. That's not even what we're talking about here. So I'm just gonna completely skip over that part. Okay. You asked both your kids, hey, can I use your room during the school day? And your son, who's you just said is already struggling. Your son is struggling with the move. He's a 15-year-old boy who was uprooted from his friend group and is now the new kid in school, has to make entirely new friend groups in an environment where everyone else already has their friend groups. Like, it's not like he's just starting high school and everyone else is starting on the same foot. He's 15, meaning he's at least a sophomore. Everyone kind of has their groups already. Not that he can't make friends, but that he's going to feel like a fish out of water for a while. And you said yourself, he's struggling. He's struggling with it. Just because you offer to drive him to see his friends every 2 weeks, which is considerate. That's great that you do that. That doesn't mean that his time at school is any easier. That doesn't mean that it makes it any easier for him to fit in or find a friend group. It doesn't mean that he doesn't feel lonely at school every day. So great, you take him to see his friends every 2 weeks. That doesn't fix that he's struggling at school and wants friends. He's probably struggling a lot more internally than what it feels like you realize. I don't think you realize what he's experiencing on a daily basis, just being alone at school. You know what I mean? So I really feel for the kid. And you're shocked that a 15-year-old that is in a not great mental space lashed out. Because he's probably very angry about the move. He's probably a little resentful about the move. He probably feels like his stuff doesn't matter because even as you're writing to us, you are really downplaying all of his experiences and all of his feelings about everything. Well, like, he can't be upset that he doesn't go to school with his friends anymore because I drive him to see them every 2 weeks. Well, like, a child needs socialization more than once every 2 weeks. Not saying that you should drive him to see his friends every day, but I'm saying he's probably feeling very lonely at school. I know I just said that, but I don't think you're getting it. I don't think this mom is understanding. But regardless, so you're shocked that this kid who's probably angry and resentful and just not doing great lashed out a bit. You're surprised? And I'm not saying that the way he spoke to you is acceptable. I'm saying that, to me, just reading it, it sounds like a cry for help. He's struggling. You're downplaying everything he's struggling with. Like, he needs to feel like someone's in his corner, and I don't think that you're giving him that validation right now. When you asked your daughter the same thing, she half joked about you paying her to use your room. She's already got the bigger room. You're in a small room. She got a bigger room, and she wants her mother to, who pays the mortgage and the rent, she wants you to pay her to use her room when you're not in there? And you think that's like the kindest response? Like, yeah, she didn't cuss at you or yell at you or anything like that, but like, it's weird to me that you're like, oh, that's so kind. She's gonna allow me to pay her. Like, oh, well, she was half joking. Just because she's half joking and like didn't know if you were really gonna go for it or not doesn't mean she wasn't hopeful. Like, if she really was, and I'm not saying that the sister did anything wrong. I wanna be clear about that. I don't think it was wrong at all for your daughter to ask, hey, you wanna pay to rent my room? I, as a parent, would be like, I do pay the mortgage. But you know, again, I think that's a personal preference. I think if you don't do allowance things and you think that's a something that you want to do to incorporate allowances, like, oh, you were allowing me to use your space, I'll reward that. Yeah, for sure. I think that $60 a week just to exist in your home that you already pay for is a lot, really. And honestly, if we're looking at being fair, 'cause you're like, well, I asked my son and he said no, so he's out of luck. Well, he's mentally not well. He probably didn't even think to ask about renting the room. To be honest, I have some of y'all, if you follow me for a while, you know, like I talk about one of my best friends, Sarah. I was the maid of honor in her wedding last summer. She and her husband, long story short, they're gonna be staying in my guest room for a little bit while their house stuff, they bought a house. They're just a little delayed in getting in it, which is fine. And they're like, hey, can we stay in your guest room? And John called me the other day and was like, hey, what are we paying you for rent? And I like froze, because I'm like, what? Nothing? You want to pay me to have a giant sleepover with my best friend? No? What do you mean? So like the fact that your son, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. I don't think it's a terrible thing that your sister was like, oh, you want to pay me to rent my room? But I wouldn't punish your son for not being money focused in that way. Well, you could have offered the same thing. I wouldn't ever punish a child for that kind of, for the first instinct isn't to go and ask someone for what can I get out of this. I wouldn't punish that at all, personally. Whenever someone asks me for something, my first go-to is not, what can I get out of this? You don't want to teach your son that that's how he should approach people asking for favors. I don't think. I actually, yeah. Now again, I'm not saying that the way he spoke to you is okay, but I think that the way that you're approaching this is not great. If you were considering, I'm rambling a lot, my Adderall hasn't kicked in yet. I'm gonna get to the point, I promise. I think that if you were adamant on, hey, my daughter brought up the idea of me renting this space, I don't hate it. Why don't I also offer that to my son and see if that's something he'd be interested in, you know? Because again, we don't want to punish a kid and tell him you're out of luck because your go-to wasn't thinking, what can you get out of helping your mom? And again, I know that he said no. I think they're two completely different issues. Your son is upset and feels like everything was taken from him, and then now you're asking to use his private space in his room. Like the one thing that he kind of has left is his privacy. I can see him feeling defensive and being like, no. Was it acceptable the way he spoke to you? No, but I think that's a completely separate issue that you should go and check in on him and talk to him. Because again, you said he's struggling. I think he's struggling more than you realize he is. Two different issues in my opinion. But if you're considering the money, offer to both of them. If he still says no, okay. But if she's asking for money for you to use part of the house, the bigger room that she already got in a house that you already pay for, and you're like okay with that, that's fine. That's your prerogative as a parent and as an adult. Okay, at least offer it to the other kid. Don't punish them for not being like, what can I get out of people asking me for a favor? That doesn't create the kind of personality you want in a child. So all of these considering, I'm going bad apple because it's like soft bad apple, you know? Do I think you're a horrible person? No, but I do think that I feel like your son feels very neglected. I think that you're focusing on some of the wrong things. I wouldn't even say wrong things. I think that you're focusing really hard on your parents' health, which is important. So I want to make that clear. I didn't mean that that's a wrong thing to focus on. You should be focused on that. I think focusing on, well, my daughter was so kind. She offered and asked for money. That's Personally, I don't find that as great as you seem to think that is, or as considerate as you seem to think it is, because I'm, again, not someone that when I hear someone asking me for a favor, my first thought isn't, what can I get out of this? I don't personally think that's as admirable as you seem to think it is. And I know, again, well, she was half joking. If she didn't mean it, she wouldn't have said it, which is fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think that she's a bad person for it. That's just not my style. And I think that you're really like, your son sees it. He's like, she's being so opportunistic right now. Like, I feel like your son is giving you all these cries for help and you're not noticing, but you're like, oh my gosh, yay, daughter, you're asking people for money when you do them a favor. Like, I think he sees these things and it's just making him feel so invisible. But anyways, long story short, I'm going like soft, like bad apple, but like soft bad apple. Like, I don't think you're a terrible person. I just feel like you're kind of letting your son's feelings and validation slip through the cracks, and I think you're rewarding the wrong things with your daughter. I wouldn't even say wrong. I think that even is I think that you're showing, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. I don't know how to phrase this. I think that you're prioritizing and like admiring behaviors that, and like, I think you're rewarding behaviors that aren't as admirable as you think, and it feels very invalidating to kids who aren't like, I don't know how to phrase, like, you guys know what I mean. You know what I mean? You get it. I can't think of what words I'm thinking of trying to use, but you know what I'm trying to say, right? And again, it's not that I think that you're a bad person. I just think that the choices here aren't it, and I think even if you go through and decide, no, like, I'm sticking with it, and I'm staying in my daughter's room. And even if you say like, hey, my son spoke to me that way poorly, so I'm not giving him the option to pay to use his space. Okay, that's fair. I still think $60 when you've decided he's not getting any of it, $60 a week is a lot. I would just think about that. I mean, I would definitely feel like I was not the favorite in that kind of situation. I would definitely feel left out and upset. $10 a week sounds really reasonable to me. I mean, what would you guys think is reasonable? But I personally think $60 is a lot. If you disagree, let me know, but that's my opinion. Apple number 3. Am I the bad apple for skipping my brother's wedding? I, 27 female, got married to my husband, 28 male, last April. We sent our wedding invites out a full year before our wedding and sent out reminders 6 months before. My younger brother Jacob, 22 male, is the youngest of 4 kids, 3 girls and 1 boy. My parents have always treated Jacob like the precious golden child who can never do anything wrong. As adults, this has caused a lot of tension between us all. He acts like a raging hormonal 16-year-old boy, and it's definitely gotten worse with his fiancee Kelly, 21 female, enabling his bad behavior. Kelly is constantly telling him that we don't appreciate him and we should be grateful to have him as a sibling. My parents think me and my sisters don't understand him and don't give him enough grace. Jacob told me a week before my wedding that he wasn't coming because he was going to be busy with Kelly and they were going on vacation. I begged him to come and emphasized how important it was to me that he came to my wedding. My mom got involved and at this point assured me that he would be there and not to worry. I found out an hour before I walked down the aisle that he wasn't going to be there and didn't intend to be there. I was devastated. And my sisters and husband had to calm me down. I had my heart set on my entire family coming, and he was our ring bearer. When Jacob told our family that him and Kelly were engaged, I was happy for him. He announced that his wedding date was May 30th of this year. He emphasized that we all have to be there, and his fiancée sent out a text saying that our attendance was mandatory. I've been debating skipping his wedding. I don't really get along with Kelly, and my brother skipped my wedding. I mentioned possibly not going to my mom, and she was pissed and told everybody. Now my brother, Callie, and my parents are calling me a jerk. They say that skipping his wedding or thinking about skipping his wedding is bratty and petty. My sisters and husband agree with me that I don't have to go since he didn't go to mine. But I don't know. Would I be the bad apple for skipping my brother's wedding? There is a bit of an update, and I'll read the update, but I have thoughts with and without the update, if that makes sense, okay? So the update is, turns out that my husband isn't invited, and my oldest sister's wife isn't invited either. Kelly doesn't want any spouses there, since those are, in her words, temporary, and doesn't want them in any pictures. My oldest sisters decided not to attend because of that reason, which I found out just a few minutes after posting this, in case that changes anyone's mind. I have thoughts before and after the update, and I feel like the update changes a lot for me personally. Like, I feel like it makes me shift completely from crab apple to good apple. So, I think, okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set my vote for like the initial story, because that's what it answers the question, right? Like, the initial question was about this scenario, it didn't have anything to do, so that's what they were asking about, and I'm gonna explain why. And then with the update, I changed to good apple. But for the initial story, now I'm confusing myself. I guess, okay. Here's why originally I was going crab apple. And I think this is one of those stories that I find it very reasonable for people to have a different vote than me, because my vote for crab apple goes to, like, I play a lot of like my values in it, if that makes sense. For me, family is just so important. I cannot imagine not going to my brother's wedding. Like, if I'm not in it, well, I'm going to be, because me and his future wife are so close, and I love that woman. But if I wasn't, I'd be like, is the sky falling? Like, what? No, I'm just kidding. My brother and I are very close. I love my brother so much. We're very close. I'm so close with his girlfriend, who will be his fiance and then wife. I literally already call her sister. I feel like I say that all the time. I love this woman. Most perfect partner for my brother that I could have ever wanted. That being said, I always say that when it comes to weddings, people are allowed to invite who they want. And we've talked about this a lot when it comes to people who are saying, you know, no boyfriends, girlfriends, like you come with a spouse, or people who say no kids, you gotta find a sitter. You can choose to invite who you want. You have to also understand that when it comes to that, other people have a right to feel a certain type of way about that decision and base their attendance on that decision. And you can't be super offended about that, you know? Not everyone can hire a sitter. Not everyone can travel to a wedding where their kids can't attend. Not everyone, you know? Some people would be upset. They don't want to go to a wedding without their significant other, even if you just deem it a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Like, some people don't like you determining the importance or significance of their relationship just because of the title, you know? You're allowed to invite whoever you want to your wedding. You have to understand and expect people to feel a certain type of way about that decision. And it's your decision, it's your wedding, but people are allowed to base their attendance off of that, right? I think the same thing comes for attending weddings. Because remember, originally she didn't even know that her husband wasn't invited. If you get a wedding invite and you're like, these people don't mean that much to me, I'm thinking about not going. That's your choice. That's your prerogative. You then have to understand people are going to feel a certain type of way about it. And that's fine. When you make the decision about attending or not attending a wedding, like, you are basically, in my opinion, and it doesn't even have to be about the wedding. In my opinion, when you are making a decision about anything that kind of lets someone know where they stand on your priority list, that's fine. That's your priority list. You have to be ready for that response, okay? I feel like if you don't want your brother in your life, if you're like, I'm done with this person, I'm not interested in being in contact, I'm not interested in associating, that's fine. You don't have to go to his wedding in general. It doesn't really matter if he went to yours or not. If you have no interest in having a relationship with this person, don't worry about it. That's fine. What I think is weird is well, I was devastated when he wasn't at mine, and it broke my heart. Like, hearing that makes me feel like you do want a relationship with your brother. You do want your brother around. And then you turn around and are like, well, he didn't go to mine, and that upset me, so I'm not going to his. What? Like, that to me screams, like, how old are we? Well, he did it to me, so I'm gonna do it to him. What? Like, I say this a lot when I talk about partners trying to do tit for tat, and I understand siblings are siblings. Like, you grow up doing tit for tat, but that to me just feels like a very important and significant event to play tit for tat with, you know? Like, if you were so upset and offended and devastated that your brother didn't attend, are you not wanting to attend because you don't want a relationship with him, which is fine, or are you not wanting to attend because you want him to be just upset as you were? You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm getting from this. And I don't like when people go out of their way to just make someone feel bad as someone else made them feel, especially when it's like a family member that you don't want to cut off, or a partner. Like again, if you're planning on cutting off a family member or anything like that, you know, you make your peace and you dip. But the whole like, well, I want everyone to be together and I want everyone to blah, 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 and I want a relationship, but I want them to feel bad. I don't like that. I don't like that mentality. I don't like that thought process. So like, that's what I mean by that part. I don't love the decisions. I don't think you're wrong to decide whether or not you want to go to a wedding. But I think that with the context, a lot of it feels kind of icky to me of like, why are we doing this? You know, what's the point here? Like to use someone's wedding to make a point or to just be spiteful. I'm just not a fan of that personally. Now with the update, I'm so confused. You're saying that like spouses, like married spouses are temporary? This girl, she got some problems. That's crazy to me. That's crazy. That means that by her logic, she's also temporary, right? Like I understand that not all marriages work out. I'm living proof of that. But like, that just feels like such an offensive way to start off being a part of the family. And I'll be honest, there was a wedding I was invited to where when I was still with my ex-husband, he was not invited. I think it was someone he went to law school with, and I was friends with them and the fiance, now wife. And they really wanted me to go, but they were not fans of my ex-husband. They kind of gotten some tiffs. And I didn't go. It was like a destination wedding at the beach. I was like, I'm not driving to the beach by myself and going and sitting by myself at a wedding no, I'm not doing that. I was not happy with that. I don't talk to them anymore. I felt a certain type of way about it. So I think if someone does that, yeah, 100%. But again, I cut them off. Like I didn't go into it thinking like, oh, I'm never gonna speak to you again. But I wasn't adamant about keeping the relationship. Like again, the choices all go into like, what is your goal for the relationship long term? But I see nothing wrong with someone saying, hey, your husband I see as temporary. He can't come to my wedding, but you can. That to me, like, good choice, don't go. Don't go. I genuinely think if you want the family to stay intact, like a conversation needs to be had for sure. Because that's crazy behavior. In my opinion, that's wild. So it's like, do I go with the original question without the update? Because like I do, or do I go with the update? Because like without the update, I go crab apple. With the update, I go good apple. But I still think that a lot of the points I'm gonna go good apple, but I do still think that a lot of the points and questions that I raised when looking at the pre-update thing are important and valid. I think that they need to be addressed, and some of those questions need to be thought about, because at the end of the day, again, it's what do you want this relationship with your brother to be? What do you want the family dynamic to be? Do you want to save this relationship or not? Because just being well, you didn't come to mind, so I don't want to go to yours, that's petty, and that's not really going to help progress into anything positive. But I think that if they're actively still doing wrong, leaving out your husband from a wedding like that, yeah, that's wrong for sure, and that's a real reason to not go to a wedding. I don't think, well, he didn't go to mine, but I still want a relationship with him. I don't think that's a good reason to go to a wedding. So I'll go good apple with the update, but again, still think the questions from before the update are valid and need to be thought about. Oh. Apple number 4. Am I the bad apple for refusing to give money from my ex back to his child? So, my ex-husband passed away recently in a work-related accident. It's sad, of course. I have a lot of mixed emotions about this, but the truth is, we hadn't been together in over a year when it happened. We were together for 5 years, but split because he cheated on me and got someone else pregnant. That split wrecked me. It took a long time for me to recover, and I haven't seen him since. After the breakup, I went no contact. I spent the last year healing, learning to be happy again, and moving on. I did not go to the funeral either. I didn't want to see the baby and the baby mama or his family. And while I'm not happy he's gone, I can't say I'm devastated anymore either, because I feel like I grieved this person when I left the relationship, if that makes sense. Now here's where things get complicated. 6 months after our breakup, and after the baby was born, he took out a life insurance policy. In it, he named me as 50% beneficiary. His mom and baby mama each got 25%. I didn't even know until the insurance company called me. I assumed at first that it was some paperwork left over from when we were together, but nope. This was a new policy dated after the breakup. That means this was his decision and not something he just forgot to change when we split. There's also the car situation. We financed this car when we were still together, and it's under my name and credit. I begged him for over a year to refinance it and put it in his name, to the point that the only reason I ever contacted him again was for the refinancing of that car, and he never did it. He probably was never going to. Now that he's gone, it's tied to just me. The car's sitting in my garage, and his family has reached out saying that the baby mama needs it for work. I said, okay, fine. You can pay for it, and you can refinance it and take it off of my credit. You don't even have to buy it from me, okay? Just put it in your line of credit, not on my name. I'll gladly sign whatever paper they need, but I'm not gonna risk my credit on people that I don't trust to make payments, and I don't trust someone that's willing to sleep with a married man. Now, I don't know why that was so offensive to them, but apparently it was. So not only are they demanding that I just give them the car, still in my name, but now they want me to give up the life insurance payout too. That I should do the right thing and give it to his mom or the baby mama, his child. Well, here's the thing. I didn't ask for any of this. I didn't ask to be put on the policy. He made that choice, even after everything that happened to us. And honestly, I feel like I earned this money. I spent 5 years with that man, 5 years dealing with the stress, the gaslighting, the emotional pain, the betrayal. My entire life was blown up by this man. I loved him deeply, and I lost so much trying to make that relationship work. I stayed with him until I found out that the baby mama was pregnant, because he was actively hiding it from me. I was with him through the worst part of his life. If anything, this money feels like the only thing I got back from all this craziness. He chose to leave it to me, probably as an apology for what he put me through. Deep down, I know he knew how badly he treated me, and he must have been trying to make it right. I don't feel like I owe these people anything, but I know that's still a child, and the child didn't do anything wrong, and she is in need. So am I the bad apple? I think this is another one of those stories where different people are gonna have different ideas and opinions, and the reason is just because we all are gonna have different boundary levels, right? We're all gonna have different boundary levels, and we're all gonna have, we all have different experiences with relationships and with children and with cheating spouses and things like that. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with everyone having different experiences and different boundaries. I personally feel like you don't owe these people anything. It's none of their business, in my opinion. We've talked about wills before, where someone left someone one thing and someone else thought they were entitled to it. No, if someone goes out of their way to say, when I die, I want XYZ to go to XYZ, that's what they want. It's no one else's choice. It's no one else's decision. And you know what? I feel that. The idea that deep down he knew that he did wrong, and maybe he thought, hey, if the time ever comes, something happens to me, this will give her back something for blowing up her life. Yeah. And to be completely honest, like, I think it's so gross that the baby mama, the mistress, isn't like, you know what? I blew up your life. Valid. Like, I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised if she has those kind of morals. Sleeping with a married man and everything, but not surprised, but I don't think you owe her anything personally. The fact that they're like offended about refinancing the car, which I get it. This economy, like, I gotta refinance this house. It's not fun, okay? It's not fun. It's not a fun time. Rates are crazy. I get that. It is wild to me that they think she should do them that favor. Wild to me. crazy of like just keeping it in her name and credit. That to me is crazy. She has no reason to trust them. Like they blew up her life. And yes, I totally agree. The kid didn't do anything. The kid is a product of bad decisions that the kid's parents made, right? The kids as products of affairs the kids are never in the wrong. They didn't ask to be born. They didn't ask for that to happen. They had no control over that. So I'm glad that she's aware of that. I love that. But that's not your child, right? That's your ex's and his mistress's child. And that's their job to provide for them, not yours. So that's her business. They can figure it out. She chose to have a child with a married man. She was, and that's your choice, you know? You live with the consequences of your choices. Or did you think that, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. You're surprised that there's consequences that you had an affair with a married man and had a child and like tried to keep it like a secret little family, and you're surprised that the wife doesn't want to do you any favors? Like, you think that you're owed and deserved deserving of all of these, what? Like, that to me is funny. That to me is comical. Like, I get it. You have a kid. Just because you have a kid from your bad decisions doesn't mean you're entitled to anything that you want. Or like, your kid isn't everyone else's responsibility. Your kid is your kid. Figure it out. Do I feel sorry for mistress? No. Do I feel sorry for kid? Yeah, I do. I hope that the kid's mom never tells the child, hey, guess what your dad did. Like that to me would be like so low, you know, gross behavior. But I'm going for the ex-wife, for the OP, the one who submitted the story. I'm going good apple. I don't think she owes anybody anything in this story personally. And not everyone is gonna agree. I think there's some people that are like just gonna be thinking kid first, and that's fine. I am of the opinion it's not everyone else's job to take care of everyone else's kids, especially like in this kind of situation where, you know, was it the ex-husband's responsibility to provide for his kid? Yeah. And he chose for it to go somewhere else. So I'm going good apple, long story short. I'll stop rambling about it now. Okay, bye babes. Okay, so I got 3 good apples and 1 bad apple. At least that's what I got. I would love to know if you got anything similar or different. Definitely let me know down in the comments. I love to hear your guys' thoughts and ideas. And for your well wishes today, well, we got some good ones. It is National Juice Slushy Day. It is National Strawberries and Cream Day. And it is National Waitstaff Day. So, go out, get you pick a dessert. You know, you need everything in moderation. Sugar in moderation. Slushy or strawberries and cream? I would probably go strawberries and cream because I'm a strawberry girly. But if I were to get a slushy, I would probably get like a blue raspberry one. Yeah. What kind of slushy would you guys get? And then, waitstaff day. I was a server and a bartender before I became a teacher. Before I did this, you guys know I appreciate the waitstaff so much. So if you go out today, take care of them. Tip them good. They deserve it. They don't get paid enough. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'm blanking because the Adderall, man. I've rambled so much today, it's a problem. I hope you have a great rest of your day, everyone, and I hope to see y'all next week. Bye, my lovelies. Mwah.